Come on, bro.
We only have one generation. Although, if you think about it, our campus students and our teens, they'll fool you into thinking that we have 5 lifetimes. By the way they jump and do deadly stuff all over the place. They're like, oh, they think that we have 4 lifetimes. They just think that our insurance never runs out. They act like they're a lizard's tail, you know, they break their leg, a new one will grow. While the other one's still wiggling. But we only have 1 lifetime. Let's go on to our first point. And we only have 2 points. Please turn to Mark 8:31. That video was sobering, and I saw some other ones. The one that I really wanted to play had a little bit of language in it, and I thought that would be inappropriate. But it showed the hearts of where many people are. I don't want to throw any university, but that is one of our top 2 universities in the United States. Those are actually students. One of them was a professor. It's hard. How much smarts God gave us, and none of it we get back. Verse 31. He then began to teach that the Son of Man must suffer many things, and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed, and after 3 days rise again. He spoke plainly about this. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But when Jesus turned and looked at his disciples, he rebuked Peter. "Get behind me, Satan!" He said, "You do not have them in mind the concerns of God, but of merely human concerns." Our first point is, who are you behind? Starts off with a question. It's fair, right? Yep. Who are you behind? Satan or the Son? I've come to determine this. Every living creature is behind someone. Every living creature is behind something. But what are you truly behind? And how do you back it up with the lifestyle that you live? You can always hear a person's good game. You ever hear someone's good game when they come up? Maybe some of you guys, before you became Christians, had a good game. You know what I'm talking about? Trying to impress the girl, and you blew up, you know, your dishwasher, but you tell everybody, I'm the executive inspector of sanitary department in China. So the girls were, oh my goodness, that's important. Then you have your lunch date at your work, and you come out, you have these rubber gloves and an apron. Oh, you're a dishwasher. I thought you were a sanitary inspection specialist of Chinaware. We all try to clear ourselves a little bit. At times, it's easy to tell whether a person is either behind Satan or behind the Son. Unfortunately, this becomes harder to tell the older we get as disciples, because we become super comfortable with our ideas, with our concepts. We get hurt by things that are changing, things that people say, and we guys who are older, we come with the most baggage. And if we don't empty out the baggage, we're going to be the baggage. Yeah. Proverbs 21:2, you just write this down. It says, a person may think their own ways are right, but the Lord weighs the heart. God weighs the heart.
Yeah.
John 3:21, you just write this down, says, but whoever lives by the truth comes into the light, so that it may be seen plainly that what they have done has been done in the sight of God. The words he began to teach them was significant in the gospel. Because at this point, all he did was teach parables, perform the miracles, and to build their faith, to build the faith of the disciples. Like when you see baptisms, like Wednesday night, the baptism of Tiana. Was that nice? But when we see the miracles, we're fired up. But what happens when there are no miracles? You depend on the miracle for your faith in God. And I think that's where Jesus is like, I'm going to turn it up. I'm going to turn the dial up just a little bit. You know, from slow cooker to flame on. And then now they're going, oh, wait, he's not telling us little parables about fruits and ants and things. Things are different. The show and tell and the pictorial pop-up Bible, he put that away, and he brought on his commentary. Now Jesus is speaking plainly. Remember what happens when people are gone from their insane mind to their rightful mind? People were so scared of them. And right now we see the same element featured right here. Jesus talks in plain language. He says, hey, I got to suffer. I'm going to be persecuted, and then I'm going to die. This has to happen. The first thing that Peter finds that is appropriate is he pulls the Son of God aside and says, "You listen to me, you!" I mean, Jesus was looking at him, and the Bible says that he turned and looked at his disciples. He goes, "Oh, and he looks at them and goes, I'm not going to let Peter talk like this. I'm going to set an example." And so he was like, let me see, what words will I use to describe the attitude of someone who turns on me in my ministry? Hey, Satan! That's a starting point of where he went. When Jesus comes at you and the first thing that comes out of his mouth is Satan, and he addresses you as Satan, you better know it's time to just change yourself. You better find your life, Felicia. And he turns around and he's like, "Satan, get behind me." Because I think sometimes when we're hurt or we don't understand the simplicity of what Jesus is saying, especially when it comes in plain words, we can get insecure. And the first thing we do is we step up and go, "Okay, I'm comfortable. I want to get to my comfortable zone when I'm leading. And I'm going to let Jesus take the back seat here." But Jesus is like, "Hey, dude, I own the handlebar. I am the handlebar. You get to pedaling and let me steer." But I think some of us this week have even held the handlebars a couple of times. We're like, "Oh man, the tandem might be looking over there going, it's another mountain." And you put Jesus in the back seat. Is Jesus in the back seat this morning? I mean, is Jesus in the back seat with your family? I mean, maybe you lost a little bit of control in your finances this week. Oh! You know, that's the biggest one for Americans. I don't know what it is, but I think the demons come and tell people, it's almost the first of the month. Make sure you do your best to get broke and make lots of simple financial decisions so that when the what you got a contribution comes, as well as your bills and as well as your the rent and the mortgage, then you'll be challenged. Then be quiet. Don't tell anybody about it. Get behind me, Satan. Jesus turns his disciples away from Galilee. And he speaks to them plainly. I think sometimes even in our relationships, flattery sometimes can take over what we say in our lives. When me and David were sharing, David was sharing with me his quiet time on flattery. And sometimes when we speak plainly to people, like I made an example of Mike earlier, Mike Wilson. And we had a conversation. I was like, "Bro, let me just tell you plainly. You're prideful." And he looked at me like, "Oh, okay, well, I accept that." Sounds about right. And Saturday night, I was like, because he had his Indian hair on, and he took it. I was like, "Look at your budget. And look at who you are with the impact that you can make in this world." He goes, "Well, I'll have to work on that." I can't make my voice sound like, but you get it. It's a manly voice version of that, what I just did. But when someone speaks the word plainly to you, like you just need a change, bro, how do you react? Because I think often we have the tendency that we want to rebuke Jesus Christ as well. I think we've been laughing at Peter this whole time. Peter said some senseless things. "Oh, let me build you a booth. Oh, let me do this. Jesus, let me cut that guy's ear." "Jesus, what are you talking about? You're going to die. You get away from there, Jesus. What are you talking about, you dummy?" But you know what? I think we can be dummy sometimes. We can pull a dummy move and we can think that we want to rebuke Jesus. Just remember the last time that someone tested your patience. Right? They weren't actually testing your patience. God was like, "Oh, look. Yanni's dating, I gotta give her a new level of patience because she's dating Richard." Right? The Holy Spirit is moving here. It's not even in my notes. So God's like, "What can I do to increase your patience?" Right? We'll take him an encouraging date. So they go up to the mountain, and she sprains her ankle, but Richard finds it appropriate to bring her up Cocoa Head. And the shepherds are all listening. Well, Richard took her out with a sprained ankle. Go ahead. Or have a word with that boy. Please do. And so, sometimes, you know, when you get tested, I'm just saying that playfully, but sometimes when you get tested, think about it. It may be the children. It may be you. Maybe it could even be that you're pointing out all these different things in people that are actually a reflection of your core character problems. Because that's what it is. We never focus on anybody like Superman with his beamy eyes unless the reflection is coming from inside. Right? Jesus, how dark is your heart inside, right? Because we start that darkness. Then we look at other people and we're like, yeah. Right? But it's actually us. Think about it. Think about it. The last time that somebody had an interest in the sister you have an interest in. Oh my goodness. Taking away my future wife. You're getting in the way of what God meant to be. Like some of the brothers actually think that God gave them the gift of the Adonis so that they can actually, like we're also standing in line to wait for them to, none of that is happening. Let me just be very, very clear. Except for maybe Kavika. But after that, nothing else. Peter, up until this point, Peter has always been behind Jesus. Up until this very point, you could search it out yourself. Like, where did Peter go wrong? Even from the beginning with doubts and a shallow understanding. Immature Peter, right? Still followed along with Jesus. And at this very point, somewhere in the ministry, some of you guys are going to get to the point where like feeling a little confident about yourself. Oh yeah, I'm super Bible talk leader. All right, go off in your space and time. I know, because that was me one time. And then one time someone was preaching a lesson like, some of you Bible talk leaders think you're the evangelist. And I was like, you lay that person out. And he was like Mark. And I was like, oh! It's not even leaders meeting, it's like church service. I'm embarrassed. What do I do? If I leave now, they'll know it's me. If I don't leave, they'll call me a coward. What do I do? So I just stayed there and died in my pride. But he rebukes Peter for stepping in front of him. You know, I want to challenge the church. Okay. If you're kind, right? They say in Hawaii, the kind. If you're the kind that likes to step in front of the Lord and tell him a thing or two, don't do it no more. I'll tell you what. Because you're still suffering that same sin. You're still enslaved to that desire. You still think that you were designed to become a billionaire. And if you are a billionaire, hey, you know what? Me, Joe, the Becks, Cena and Jared, we could all use a free house. Yeah. If you become that billionaire. I'm not even kidding. Mark my words, be witnesses. If someone's a billionaire, please buy us a nice house, preferably on the beach, so we can have this. You never know. I once asked a guy, who's the millionaire here? And then somebody actually raised their hand. I was like, son of a... That's why I always ask the question. I'm hoping it'll happen again.
Come on, Charlie.
That probably won't happen again since I keep announcing it. It's still so unwise. You know, Paul said it best. For Peter, he listened to the words of God in flesh, the Son. And when Jesus was saying, the Son of God must suffer, he's going to be persecuted and he's going to die. Peter looked at him like he was foolish. In 1 Corinthians 1:18, you can just write this down. It says, the word of the cross is foolish to those who are dying. But to us who are saved, it is power of God. So when Jesus says, I'm going to die, Peter should have responded, how powerful that is! But he didn't understand. Because he was tainted by the doubt, the confusion, the insecurities, a lack of understanding. Plus, he was an idiot. For us this morning, as members of the church in particular, we must ask ourselves, do I get behind Jesus? Do I stay behind Jesus even when the times get rough? Even when the times get rough. A good test is just to remember the last time you got rebuked plainly. How did you act? I got rebuked plainly on Tuesday morning. Oh my gosh. Woo! Baby. You know, and Kip says, hey, you guys want to have some breakfast? And then the place changes from a nice place to an extravagant place. I'm like, oh no, it's an extravagant place. He probably just loves me so much. I'm going to sit down with my wife and I'm going to impress the guy. Boy, we went through every stat, every nit and cranny, everything about the church. And halfway through, I was like deteriorating. You know, this when the snake's skin comes off, my skin was just coming off, man. When I walked out of there with skin and bones, no blood. Then I went and prayed, and then Carrie was like, "Can these bones live?" And I just gave him right on time for Sunday service.
Amen.
But you know what? I didn't look at Kip and say, "You let me tell you something, God." I looked at the guy and go, "Bro, I can tell that you love me because you tell me the truth." Our church is not wrong. Now, we've grown, but in comparison to the level of maturity in the church, he saw that as disgusting. And I think you expect the same. If Barry Bonds went and made one home run, you know, while playing the Mariners, you know what I mean? But, there's no Mariner. Oh my gosh, there's Florida people here. Right? I was trying to pick a state, Nate. I don't know my stats. But if Barry Bonds made one home run while getting paid all the millions of dollars, someone's going to get mad, right? But for us, we don't get mad. We don't take a swing. We don't act that way. We just fall in line and get behind the Lord. No, I think some of us are going to be seeing the anointed pretty soon. We got to watch the way we behave. You know, I think about Brother Bill. Brother Bill.
Come on, Bill.
You may be thinking he's going to see the Lord before us. But you know what? If you read the news, you're seeing all these movie stars and all these young people. They're just passing away every single time. I hear it. People preaching, about Robin Williams and all these different guys. Well, those guys are very good examples because they're kind of older. But young people are dying every day. Every single day. People still think that tomorrow is not going to happen. Like tomorrow's promise, actually. But let's just move on to our next point. But while we're turning there, I want to ask you: are you getting behind Satan or are you getting behind the Son? Mark 8. Verse 34.
All right, come on, Mark.
The way to the cross. Then he called the crowd to him, along with his disciples, and said, "Whoever wants to be my disciples must deny themselves and pick up their cross. Must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me and for the gospel will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their very soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for a soul? If anyone is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will be ashamed of them when he comes in his Father's glory and with the holy angels." Now, I've been embarrassed before, but this is really embarrassing. How many of you guys, has anybody ever been embarrassed before? Yeah. I've been embarrassed before. I've been embarrassed so many times. I was a valet driver one time. And I don't know what was going on, but a bunch of basketball players were in the Oakland Marriott. And so I was living in, I was at Oakland Marriott. I went up and I was like making a big deal, like, "Oh, it's great, you know, you and the Chicago Bulls and everything." And the guys just looking at me and going, "I don't know what you're talking about." And and people were just watching us and like, "I'm with the entertainment." And I felt so bad. So I thought it was one of the basketball players just because the guy was small. He looked like Scottie Pippen to me.
All right.
Who's Scottie Pippen? Okay. Second point is self-denial is a requirement, not an option. Self-denial is a requirement, not an option. But I do think that still today in this modern world that as Christians, even as saved Christians, people think that self-denial is optional. Like, I don't deny myself for that. I mean, that's only, greed. It's not like it's murder. You know what I mean? We think it's optional. When our wives do something that maybe is not up to your expectation, we think that patience is optional. I decided as an option not to consider patience. Therefore, in substitution for that, I'm going to throw in anger. Why not? Like one of those guys where you go to a restaurant and you ever see the menu that says absolutely no substitution? Absolutely none. But even disciples go in the restaurant and go, "Excuse me, could I change the coleslaw for a medium rare porterhouse? Could I do that as a side? I would like the virgin lamb with the cranberry sauce to change that with the potato mac salad, please. And they're like, it says absolutely, and then you're wanting too much. You know? I think in our life sometimes we think that it is optional. It's optional that we don't discipline our kids. It's optional that we don't disciple the heart when we see somebody in sin. Like, man, if God would say anything and just stay still here like a chameleon, somebody else would disciple that person and just slowly drift to the dark. It's on them now when it's your disciple. You know what I mean? I think sometimes when people don't show up for church over and over again, I can't believe it. Sometimes I hear it all the time. Oh, that brother hasn't been to church in three weeks. He hasn't been to Bible discussion. He doesn't do anything. Hasn't given this. Hasn't given that. I go, how long have you known about this? About 3 weeks now, bro. Someone needs to do something about that. I'm like, bro, deny yourself and go back there. It's not an option. Get back there. The reason why that brother's suffering is because you don't love him. It's your fault. It's your fault that brother is suffering because you don't love him. How can you see somebody in sin and yet not say something? You hypocrite. Isaiah was right when he prophesied about it. You honor God with your lips, but your heart is so far from them. You need to repent. But I think often it doesn't matter what church we're at. It doesn't matter what time of the day. It happens in the heart because we're lazy and we're greedy with our time and we don't want to disciple people when it's dirty and it requires work and emotional. It drains you emotionally. Then you get home and you're more tired than that 3 minutes you did trying to do Pilates, you know? I know Pilates is still a thing. I'm just trying to grab whatever comes out of my head. I want to say a quote, and I hope I don't mess it up. If one of you guys wrote it, my apologies. Someone once said this. Games are won not just on the playing field, but also on the practice field. To experience the glory on game day, the athlete must first push himself or herself to the limit on the practice field. Physical conditioning is painful and practicing the fundamentals is tiresome. But the purpose of discipline is neither pain nor boredom, but victory. I don't know who said that. I'd like to know. So in the spiritual realm, the spiritual disciple begets the victory. I think we gotta understand that. It's just this discipline and it's discipline. More and more Christians today, meaning churches, are substituting discipleship for a lesser form. So they can fill the room, but not us. I don't care if the seats remain empty. What I care about is that every member cares about Jesus Christ. What we're concerned about is concerned about the things of God and not of human things. Many people will say, how long has your church been there? I say, as long as it has. How many members do you have? Roughly 65. Questionable 3. Why? Well, our church is 1.5. We have 1,500 members. We have a bag. We have this order than us. We. Right? And I'm like, oh, that's quite impressive. 1,500. How many actually show up for service? Right? How many services do you have? Because I used to belong to a church of 11,000. And I'll tell you something. I always went to the Saturday night service because I was not going to go to church service with a hungover and offend Jesus Christ like that. You know what I mean? I know better. Well, I know better. I'm not going to offend Jesus Christ with my hangover. I was a part of a singles ministry that was like a meat market. It was a dating service. It was nothing innocent. There was nothing pure about it. And I was the leader. I didn't even read my Bible when I was the leader. But we had like 300 members just in the singles ministry. Imagine if I had the guts and I had the knowledge and I put up with sin and I said something, what would happen? It would probably be just like that exactly. Because when Jesus speaks, he divides the crowds. He divides the crowds. And that's why we are who we are. But we need to continue not to waver in what we do. Self-denial is not an option. It's not an option. It's a requirement. I think about David Kelly. Many of you guys remember when David Kelly was dragged near the kingdom.
Yep.
Right? He was a mostly dead guy. And I told David I was gonna, I wasn't sure if he gave me permission, but we were driving in that truck here, that truck he was making fun out of. And I said, hey David, I'm gonna use you as an example today at church, and he agreed, he said, thank you. I don't know what he said, but I took it as, I give you total permission. And so because he disclosed the information, I'm going to share with you. So, everybody knows Phil Kelly. When Phil Kelly drags you somewhere, it's going to be no good. Right? And so, Papa Phil takes his son because he's about, Beth had it. But she had it for a very long time. She's like, you got to get out of here. Go get your life. And so, this guy is still, I'm not even making fun, this guy was still, like, he knew that he wanted something. Inside of him, he wanted something so bad that somebody was crazy enough to drag him. And on the way to trying to check into a facility to keep him sober, and to save his marriage, and to save his family, David says, oh, against his will. He was still highly intoxicated with multiple things. But they went into a Starbucks cafe. Who would think that Starbucks would ever serve salvation? It's like going to In-N-Out. You don't see animal style on the menu. So David sits down and he does a Bible study with Kyle, and he sees the light. Last night we went and had, most of you guys have met, give me a name, Manny. Manny, he's a guy from Guam we met, he's a preacher from some church. And we were at the barbecue. He asked David, how long have you been a Christian? Then they went down this road where they were remembering. And you should have seen the grip on both of these guys' faces because they both come from the same side of the street. And David's like, I remember walking around after that study, with a ripping smile on my face, and I just couldn't understand it. I had a joy in my heart that couldn't stop, and I felt hope in my life. I'm thinking, if that's what he was feeling, I wonder what Beth was experiencing. You know what I mean? Probably scared out of her wits because a demon-possessed man came out of the tomb dressed in his right mind. But because David didn't see self-denial as optional, every way along the way, you got to quit drinking. Okay, no more drugs. Okay, even though he was battling inside. So like, you can deny yourself, that doesn't mean you're going to be like composed, like, I feel totally great about it. Not give all my money to the kingdom. No. When someone asks for my money for the kingdom, sometimes my heart is, sure. But inside my heart is like, just say no. Just say no. Just say no. Give half of whatever they're asking. I think in my heart, I'm guilty of that. I do that in my heart, but I get my heart behind it and I do it because it's not optional. Because David's spirit, because he knew that Jesus was the anointed priest, prophet, king, and son of God. His son saw hope. His wife saw hope. Both of his sons got baptized. Even when they went home back to wherever it was, Oz, Kansas. That was close. Right? Even Kavika stayed faithful. I'm talking about Kavika! That guy! Jesus is Lord. And they saved their contribution for the whole time they were there. And they watched and they Skyped in or whatever form of technology. And they watched the sermons. And they even brought visitors to the house who thought they were absolutely weird. Never came back again. But then when he came back, he's still faithful. And as a result of that, he's going to be getting married as a pure man before God. And maybe even make a faithful woman out of Rita. You know? But crazy things happen when you don't waver. You know? Even Jeremy Beck can be married to Ross. There are no limits when you don't make self-denial an option. I mean, if you don't believe me by now, look at Joe married to Mary. Come on, Joe. None of these guys deserve the women that they have. And yet Mary has put her entire life on hold. We've lived with Mary and Joe. Mary is a just flat, awesome, underrated, unknown, extremely incredible, giving artist. Well, you guys bring it up. She's like a woman that has her own galaxy. And she blows Italian glass, and she does all these things with crystals, and if Mary needs something and there's no such thing as what it is that we need, she'll fabricate it. Like nothing is impossible. Why? Because there are no options in self-denial.
Yeah.
But we can't just have self-denial, we got to take up the cross. And so in these times, the cross was a lethal form of like lethal injection and execution and gas chamber, an electric chair. So you need to do those things, gas chamber, electric chair, crucifixion, kill your sin every single time that you feel like self-denial should be an option. And as we come to an end today, we've had some laughs. We've read some scriptures. But now we got to walk away challenged. Because if we do not call people to something great, they will not change. So I want to call you to blow your mind way out of this earth, past the universe, and think about where God is sitting right now. What would He expect of you? He would expect that whoever you're behind, that you would choose the Son and not Satan. He would also desire this, that you actually have a conviction that self-denial is not an option, but it's a requirement. And to God be all glory.
Thank you, man.